Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ben, and in this episode of the Smoking Hot Confessions BBQ podcast, we're talking with a trophy-winning American pitmaster who's been here so many times, he's an honorary Australian. Hey family, I hope you're well wherever you are and you got that thin blue smoke rolling. This is a super cool time for us here at Smoking Hot Confessions. We've got Sterling Smith, the one-man navy that is Loot'n'Booty BBQ. This guy is absolutely dominating the barbecue scene over in America. He does so many different things and we're going to be super lucky to be able to talk about that with him very shortly. Now, before we get into that, I do have a couple of announcements. that I do need to run by you. The first is I'd like to welcome our podcast partner for this episode, Ozpig. If you're out there, you're looking for the ultimate camp cooker, do check them out. They're a cooking stove, they've got grill tops, they've got heating racks, they've got rotisseries, they've got smoker attachments. You can basically take all of the barbecue that you love to cook at home, you can take it out in the bush when you go out camping, when you're going caravanning. It's a beautiful bit of gear. We've got one here in the yard and we just love it. Now, if you're at the beginning of your barbecue journey and you'd like to get some more information to help you get started, head on over to our website, smokinghotconfessions.com, and pick up the Beginner's Guide to Real Barbecue. It's a free ebook that we've made available for you. It was recently awarded by the NBBQA for educational writing, so it's a really good read, and it's everything you need to know to go from zero to hero in the world of low and slow barbecue. And if you're joining us this morning for this live podcast recording, welcome to the Smoking Hot Confessions barbecue community on Facebook. If you would like to come and join and be a part of that, head on over to Facebook. It's the Smoking Hot Confessions barbecue community. It's a really nice little corner of the internet. We just hang out, talk about barbecue, and you get to interact with our guests here on the show. It's a good time. Now, if you're catching this later on the replay, on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, the subscribe, and hit that little notification bell. Over on Facebook, it's all about the likes, the comments, and the shares. Facebook particularly gets excited about all the shares, so give us a share. That'd help us out. And over on Instagram TV, IGTV, it's all about the little love hearts, the comments, and the follows as well, so you get notified next time we go live. And if you're listening in on a podcasting app, particularly if it's Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating and review. It's super helpful and helps push us up the charts. And in the last 30 days, we've actually been as high as number 6 on the USA food charts for food, but the podcast charts for food. And in Australia, we've been as high as number 3. So that all comes down to those ratings and reviews. So they're super helpful and we really do appreciate it. Now, getting back to our guest today, he's an honorary Australian, Sterling Smith from Loot'n'Booty BBQ. He's a competitive team, a rub, sauce, and pretzel manufacturer, a brand ambassador with Green Mountain Grills, and lives a lifestyle that most of us can only dream about, traveling not just around the United States, but around the world, going to various different competitions and whatnot as well. So I think that's about all the introduction you need to get out of me. Let's go talk to Sterling.
This is the internationally awarded Smoking Hot Confessions barbecue podcast with your host, Ben Arnott. How long's it been since your last confession?
Sterling, mate, welcome to the confessional, my friend. It is great to see you again.
Hey, thanks, Ben. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you reaching out, and good time right now. Thank you.
Oh, mate, anytime. I was thrilled that you had some availability to fit us in because I know your schedule is just flat out at the moment.
Yeah, it's starting to pick up, and it's barbecue time. It's summer in America right now, so everything that was canceled, it seems like, during the situation last year, everything's starting to come back, and it's actually starting this weekend in Kansas City with the Kansas City Barbecue Festival. So I leave tomorrow to host the Green Mountain Grills demo stage with that, and it's a really exciting time to be able to get back on the road and do what we do with barbecue.
Yeah. Now, there has been a couple barbecue competitions in the last couple of weeks, and one I saw was one that you did on the 4th of July. I think I saw, if I was tracking your social media posts right. I was in the States in 2006 for 4th of July, and I know that's a real wild time, and I know the barbecue comps are also a real wild time. So what's it like when you have a barbecue competition on 4th of July?
Well, actually, this past weekend was Fourth of July, and I didn't have an event. That was actually one weekend that I had free, and so we went out on the lake with my wife, with some friends who had a pontoon boat. Just enjoyed the weekend. So that was actually one weekend we didn't have anything going on. But I've been at events that have things like July 4th or a New Year's Eve or something attached to it when you got people out partying, having a good time. That to me what barbecue is all about, not only getting out there and cooking, but enjoying the experience. And when they're attached to an event like a July 4th or a New Year's or whatever it may be, those are always elevated extra good times.
Yeah, no doubt about that at all. I must have fallen victim to that trick of scheduled posts and whatnot. And I just saw you had you had a photo come up on the 4th of July. I went, oh wow, he's at a competition on the 4th of July. So tell me,
Oh, you know what? That was from the American. That was actually a picture from the American Royal several years ago that we caught the American flag at a perfect moment, with the smokers in the background, and that was just a picture from a previous event.
Ah, okay, gotcha. Nice. So when you do go out to the lake with your family, are you barbecuing when you're out there, or is that your holiday from barbecue? You're like, no, I'm gonna just eat noodles. What do you do there?
you know, it was our friends of ours. So when I am invited, or my wife and I are invited, I love to cook for people. I just do. So I actually brought a couple racks of lamb because I like to introduce people to lamb, especially here in America because it's not that popular. So I brought a couple racks of lamb, some tenderloin, and there's always a grill wherever you go. So we lit up the gasser and did some rack of lamb for them with some chimichurri sauce, and it was awesome. They loved it. And so when I'm invited to something like that, I love cooking for people. That's kind of what I do. But going back to your question, after a barbecue class or competition, to me, there's nothing better than a big old thing of noodles, a funnel cake, something other than rich fatty meat.
Yeah, basically anything
Sushi
other
is
than
always good.
barbecue.
Yes, I love Asian food.
Yeah, yeah. Now you're just mentioning lamb there before. Now that's a competition cut over here, and you've come over here several times and beaten us in lamb. But I know that lamb is not it's not particularly popular in the States. So do you sort of go out of your way to go find that lamb in the States to practice? How do you go about doing it in the States?
Yeah, even though it's not that popular, you do see cuts at places like Costco. A lot of local butchers here in town carry it. Colorado lamb is popular, but the stuff that we get at Costco, it even says on the package that it's Australian or New Zealand lamb. So a lot of the stuff that we get here is coming over from Australia and New Zealand. And to me, that's some of the best lamb. It tastes like what it ate, and the environment there is perfect for that animal. So, I love, like you said, I love introducing people to that, taking that cut, and I'll get a lot of people, and I teach classes across the country, and I do lamb, and I always ask the class, who here likes lamb? And out of 30 or 40 people, I'll get one or two people that say yes, I like lamb. And then I ask, who doesn't like lamb? And I get 10 to 15 people say, no, that's not my thing. And then I always ask this, who doesn't know if they like lamb? And I'll get most of those people who said they didn't, they'll raise their hand like, I'm really not sure if I do like it or not. And then I cook it, I serve it, and then I ask the same question. All right, who likes lamb? And I have over half, I'll usually have a majority of the class saying, yeah, you know what? I like it now. It was cooked right. Maybe I had it at a time where, the fat wasn't rendered right, or it was just cooked not to your liking. So I love being able to introduce that meat to people and having them actually enjoy it and like it.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that might be a problem with lamb's popularity in America is that you don't sort of strictly have lamb per se. So lamb is when the animal's about 12 months old is when it gets processed. Whereas in
Yeah.
America, from people I've been talking to in America, the sheep that are processed in America are typically older, which is technically mutton. And as the
Right.
lamb gets
Mutton.
older, it takes on a much different flavor.
Absolutely. It doesn't, it's lamb is almost like that veal of the cow. It's younger meat. It's going to be more tender. And usually when it's more tender, you got more flavor. You got all that. As the animal ages, it's going to get tighter, more, stricter proteins. And like you said, that aging of that meat's going to be a little bit different. So people probably had that aged out meat that didn't taste like a good, proper young lamb, butchered at the prime time in its life. But being able to cook that meat and going over to Australia and cooking it over with you guys, and to me that was just an amazing time. I pick up a lot of what you guys did. Before I came and competed, I was looking at those Australian Facebook pages and looking at the boxes. You got to do as much intel as possible. A lot of what you see here is maybe one cut of meat in the box. And with lamb is really cool. You guys love to cook the loins, the ribs, some pulled, some shanks in there. And so it really shows the cooking ability that you guys have down in Australia to cook and master not only one, protein from that animal, but to put 3 or 4 different cuts in the box and nail it every time. That shows a pit master and somebody who really knows how to cook proteins, not just barbecue.
Yeah, yeah. So when you were doing all that research on the Australian lamb hand-ins and that, did you find a particular team that you sort of modeled yourself on? Like who inspired you with the lamb the most?
Yeah, I looked a lot of what, the guys at the time, you always know who's on the leaderboards because you can go and research that. But at that time I was coming over, it was the guys like the Bearded BBQ and Smoke Face Grillers was out there. Dan was coming up from Big Smoke. Weber Kettle guys, those I love those guys. They're like family to me, and Dan from Big Smoke and several of these guys have just brought me in and made me feel like family. But at the time, everything I was looking, Booma always had his boxes have always been spot on and just beautiful. So a lot of those guys, I was looking at what they were doing, and that helped me a lot to figure out, what I needed to turn in. And other than that, it's just cooking it right. It can be as beautiful as it is, but it's got to taste good and it's got to be tender and it's got to knock them off their feet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's like a real bit of a buzz for us to hear an American pitmaster saying that they found some inspiration in what Australians are doing, because usually it's us looking at the Americans going, oh wow, how are they doing that? That's so good. I want to do that just like that. So that's really nice for us to be able to hear that that's starting to come back the other way there as well.
100%. To me, if you're not learning, if you're not listening, if you're not taking in any of that stuff, you're going to fall behind. You got to constantly learn. It doesn't matter who it's from. And if I'm going to go there to Australia, what better people to learn from than people who are actually there cooking, doing it, and doing the hand-ins. That's where I'm going to learn, is the people who are actually doing it. And like I said, it's not popular here in America, so we didn't do a lot of lamb, and I needed to get as much information as possible. One of the things that I've grown up with was, mint with lamb. And honestly, I'm not a mint person. I just don't like it on my food. So I would, some of the intel I would do is whenever I asked an Australian person, okay, about lamb, do you like mint? Do you serve it with mint? And the worst thing I got is I had 50% of the people say, yeah, we like it with mint. And 50% said, no, I don't do it with mint. So I was lost on that one. I had to roll the dice. And I went without mint, obviously, because that's not what I like. And, the judges seem to like it that way. That on that day.
Well, you actually won lamb at a meat stock, didn't you?
Actually, it was at the 2017 Australian Invitational. The first year they had it in Sydney at the Australian Hotel, and they invited me. I GC'd that year actually, and took first in lamb. And then they invited me back in 2018. That was when it was on the Sydney ground. That's when Black Bear started promoting it. That was the first year Black Bear promoted it, and then I took lamb again in 2018, first place in lamb. And chicken. So, and came back in 19. I think I was 7th in lamb, somewhere around there. And then 4th in lamb, I think, was at Melbourne Meat Stock. So, I seem to be in the top 10 every time I've been out there. I just can't wait to come back and do it again.
Beautiful, man. Yeah, yeah. So do you find that you have to change the cooking methods much if you do get a piece of mutton over there in the States? So how do you modify what you're doing to suit the age of the beast?
And I don't really modify what I'm doing. I pick out my meat accordingly to what I'm going to cook. I get it from the right resources. If I know I'm going to get lamb, I'm going to go to my local butcher who knows exactly what cut I'm looking for. If I'm looking for a French track lamb, or a shoulder or some shanks, he knows it's going to come from a lamb that he probably got, half the animal, and then he broke it down himself. So we have a lot of those butchers, and they're making a comeback here. What I really loved about my time in Australia is you guys are a lot. It's your local butcher shop. You have your grocery stores and you got some prepackaged meat, but you see all these butcher shops that are, right on the outside of the grocery stores, or, locally in town, like Glenn from Char Char Char, and, Ray, George's Fine Meats. Those guys are just phenomenal because, they know where the meat's coming from. They're getting the best of the best, and they're cutting it right. So to be able to work with those guys, and to me, that's, I guess that's part of the game, is picking out the right meat. Anybody can cook a piece of meat, but if you pick out the one with the most marbling, that's going to give you a better window of opportunity to make it right all the time. That makes a pitmaster, that makes a cook, is knowing the right piece of meat, how to cook it, and how to cut it properly, and all that. But so I guess going back to your question is, you gotta be able to pick out the right piece of meat first and know exactly what you're cooking.
Yeah, some good advice there for sure. Now, we were just talking at the top of the episode about the competitions coming up in Kansas City. Watching your socials, you seem to be out every couple of days almost. What's your lifestyle like at the moment?
Oh man, it's crazy. So this event this weekend is not necessarily a competition. It's the Kansas City BBQ Festival. And what we love about these festivals are, we get pitmasters from all over the country, and they're vending to the crowds. There's bands that are playing. There's food vendors. There's demos. We're actually with Green Mountain Grills. We host a food demo stage. So
Cool.
From when the event opens on Friday, we have pitmasters from Mike from Sugar Fire, Todd from Plowboys, Tim from Blues Hog is coming up our stage. Darren Worth, Iowa Smoky D's is doing a demo.
Wow.
He's out there. Jeff Staney from Casey, Joe's Kansas City. He's going to be out there vending. He's on our stage. We have a lot of these Kansas City barbecue guys, and then others like James Cruz out of New Orleans. He's going to be on our stage, and he's out there vending. So to have these people and cook some, not only the barbecue that they're serving to their guests every day, this is giving the guests and everybody who's coming out the chance to eat world championship food. James Cruz he won spare ribs at Memphis in May. He's cooking those out there. The guys at Blues Hog, Tim won shoulder. They won shoulder. They're cooking that same shoulder and serving it to the crowd. So it's a really cool concept that Brian Wabi and Mark Mendolia created. And this is an offshoot from Q in the Lou and Denver Barbecue Festival, and soon to be Jacksonville Barbecue Festival. So this weekend is that. It's an accumulation of vending, bands, food demos. It's just spreading barbecue love. And to be able to be involved with Green Mountain Grills and host the stage with all the pitmasters come up. We get a lot of good video content for Green Mountain Grills, but it's also taking that food and telling the crowd how they can do this at home, easily on their grill, and getting able to taste world championship pitmaster barbecue. And I don't know how events are there in Australia. I do know how they are. I've been to several of them, but
we just talked about how you keep coming over and cleaning us out. So
yeah, they're similar to here, where you really don't get to taste the food from the competitors. You're tasting a vendor, somebody who's there, who's serving barbecue to the crowds. Here, you see a lot of these events that are barbecue events, but you can't feed the crowds, and people want to taste what World Championship Barbecue is. So these events actually give those people the opportunity to taste some of these guys' food, and they bring amazing stuff to the crowds. And like I said, being on the stage with Green Mountain Grills allows us to share that with the crowds. And then we do samples for the people after everybody's done, and they love it. And we're doing Denver, we're doing Jacksonville, we're doing Q in the Lou, and we're doing them all, and we're doing them all this year.
So good, man. That's so good. So how often are you away from home? Like you're on the road, you're traveling,
It kind of varies depending on the season. And right now, it's barbecue season across America. This is summer. There's, typically 4 seasons. In Arizona, we have 2 seasons, it's summer and summer 2. So we're in summer 2 right now, where it's the middle of Australia is Arizona right now. It's dry, it's arid, there's 115 degrees. it's not much, to do outside. But so with these events going on across the country, allows me to get out. So this weekend I'm gone. I'll be back home the following weekend for a family vacation. You got to have some balance in there. And then I'll be out again for a teaching and barbecue class in Illinois with my friend Mike from Sugar Fire Barbecue. And we have an SCA event that we're going to be cooking in Saturday. And then Sunday we'll be teaching the class in Staunton, Illinois, right outside of St. Louis. And then let's see, Alamosa barbecue competition in August, and then another one in Lubbock, Texas in mid-August. The American Royals coming up in September. The Jack is October, which I'll have a pretty good shot of getting the draw for that. And it just seems like things are starting to pop. But, I do build some time in there on the weekends to be able to be at home and to take advantage of some of that time. And with my schedule, I'm really gone a lot on the weekends, but it gives me time to be home, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday during the week to do what I have to do, take care of my business, to run that portion, and then be there for my family and do what we have to do. And what's really cool about some of these events is my family's been able to experience Australia twice. So they've been to, the first time I came out in 2017, they came out to Sydney to the Invitational. And then when I guess we did Melbourne Meat Stock 2018, they came out to Melbourne. So they were able to experience that. So it's really cool to have the family involved. And honestly, if they didn't love and support what I did, I couldn't be as successful and be able to do what I do, right now. So it's a balance, but it's starting to pick up.
Yeah, it's so good, man. And so I guess that your background as a serviceman in the Navy, would they be used to you having time away? Like would this schedule be better suited than that? Like do they enjoy barbecue dad a little bit more than Navy dad? How does that sort of play out for you?
Yeah, man, my kids never knew Navy dad. They came they came a long way after. So, and then my wife and I got married after I was out of the Navy, and we both went through college. So they were just a twinkle in dad's eye back then. So they didn't get to experience the Navy life.
Fair enough.
I guess it's very similar. Rodeo, Navy, and barbecue. Man, you're all on the road chasing that buckle, right? Chasing that dream.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, so are you telling me that you also have a career as a rodeo rider? Rodeo, Navy, and barbecue?
Not rodeo, but it's just very similar. The lifestyle, it just seems.
Yeah, yeah. Now, with that much time on the road and going to all these different events, I mean, you just told us just a couple of minutes ago, you've got like 3 or 4 different things happening just on one weekend in all different cities. How do you stay motivated with that much time on the road and all those different events and, setting up and breaking down and all that sort of stuff? Like, how do you stay focused?
Yeah, you have to love it. You have to love barbecue. You got to live, breathe, die, and just be involved in everything barbecue, because there's a lot of work to it. People see the glamour side of the videos and being up on stage and doing the demos, and they see the awards and they see the travel. But they don't see the back end of scraping down grills. They don't see the travel. They don't see all the stuff behind the scenes that go into getting to that point. So at the end of the day, if you don't want to do the work, if you don't want to do the hard work, then you can't enjoy the easy work. You got to put in time, cleaning those grills and the travel, the way you have to invest in that,
So there's no staff of hundreds running around cleaning out all your grills for you and packing and unpacking.
I wish I had barbecue roadies. Barbecue roadies would be phenomenal. But I've got to that point to where if I'm going to go out there and do something, I'm going to make it happen. And I think everybody who kind of has that mentality of, I quit my full-time corporate job in banking 5 years ago. I just cold turkey quit it to run my barbecue business. And it's almost that do or die mentality of, you're going to make this work. If you don't make it work, then you're going to go back to doing something you probably are not passionate about, something you want to wake up every day and say, well, okay, I'm going to go to a job, as opposed to, I get to live my life and my career and spread my brand or whatever it may be, you got to put in that time. You got to put in the energy to do that.
G'day and welcome to AusPig, creating great meals, great memories and flavour born from fire for over 15 years. Born and designed right here in Australia for Aussie conditions, the AusPig range is your best friend for the outdoors. Featuring 3 stoves in the range, there's one built for adventure, home and in between. And with the oven smoker attachment, you'll totally transform your AusPig into your very own portable smoker. There's a huge range of genuine accessories such as the rotisserie and char grill, helping you achieve maximum flavour born from fire. At AusPig, we stand behind our range, and 15 years of development and customer feedback has led us here. Dollar for dollar, you won't find better value. Each unit features a solid 3mm steel construction, zinc-plated legs, fully steel-pressed shape and robot welded seams. Every AusPig unit comes with a 3-year limited structural warranty, so when you buy an AusPig, you can trust that you're buying quality.
Got a project you'd like to work on with the SHC team? Shoot Ben an email on ben@smokinghotconfessions.com and let's have a conversation.
Alrighty, so now let's get into Loot'n'Booty BBQ itself, mate. Tell us how it all started for you.
Yeah, man. I grew up all over. I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, and I was mostly in the South, Mississippi, Florida, and Georgia. So I knew what barbecue was. Barbecue's on every corner. And I've always, I had a grill, like to throw some, when I got out of the Navy and started living with, my wife now, we had a grill in the backyard, and I like to flip some burgers and, cook some wings every now and then. To me, that was barbecuing, turn your gasser on and throw a steak and burn it, drink a couple beers. That's barbecue. I started working, I told you I was in banking for a while, so I got out of the Navy and I got my degree in finance from Arizona State University. And from then on, I went to, banking career, everything from a branch manager to commercial real estate finance to small business banking. And there was a new bank that was coming out to Arizona that was based out of Kansas City. And they recruited me over to head up their small business banking unit. And every year this bank has a employee barbecue competition on the grounds of the Kemper Arena, which is where the old American Royal was held. And so it's a morale and welfare thing they do for the employees. They get everybody together, a band plays, they have beer, and it's just a really cool thing they do for the employees. And they have branches from, all over America, Colorado, and all over throughout Missouri. So they try to get these teams from each state to represent their barbecue. And so I was like, yeah, I can, flip a steak and flip some wings. I'll go out and represent Arizona and, cook barbecue with these guys in Kansas City. And so, I get there and people are setting up and I'm seeing people roll in with, RVs and trailer smokers. And I'm like, oh man, I thought I was going to be here with like a gas or Weber, some propane, and they're going to give me a steak and I'm going to flip it, and drink more beer than I am cooked meat. And then they brought over a brisket because they provided meat and everything. And they brought over a brisket, which looked to me at the time was like a side of a cow. Because I'm used to a steak, I see this big thing. I'm like, what am I doing with this? I don't even know what to do with it. So I just became fully invested in it. I saw the smokers. I saw the love and the passion, the time that people were putting into this hobby, this craft. And everybody was just having a blast. And I said, you know what? This is a cool lifestyle. This is a cool thing. So when I got back home from that event, this is like 2007, I went to Home Depot, which is like your Bunnings, right? And I picked up a $50 El Cheapo Brankman grill, a bag of, mesquite wood, some lighter fluid, a pork butt on the way home. And I had that thing chugging with smoke coming out of it on everywhere. I'm just surprised the fire station didn't come and shut me down and just blast the whole situation. And I had my wife's parents over at the time, and it was the worst piece of meat, honestly, the worst piece of meat I've ever made in my life. It was a pork shoulder that was black and crusty and sooty on the outside. It didn't pull. It was hard, and I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue at all. And then I just started researching and cooking more. At that time, there were just no BBQ Pitmasters show. There was no classes that you can go to online. And, I'm sure people were doing classes, but they weren't as accessible as they are now and as abundant. But so I found the Arizona Barbecue Club, and so I was like, oh, this is awesome. There's a whole club here in town. They put on barbecue events. They host all kinds of stuff. And I went to some events, started buying smokers. They have a competition. In 2009 was the first competition I entered as Loot'n'Booty BBQ with a couple friends of mine. We created a team, and it spiraled from there. It just honestly, it's gotten to this point to where I think about it, almost 12, 13 years later, and I'm like, I went from cooking the worst piece of meat that I've ever had in my life, and the first brisket I ever turned in was like eating a leather shoe. It was just it was garbage, straight garbage. So, but you look at those times and you look at the hard work and the amount of research, the amount of cooks, the amount of charcoal you burnt, the amount of pieces of meat you burnt to get to this point to actually make it right. It's been a journey and a path, and that's what makes you better. That's definitely what makes you better is failing and knowing that you can get better because it's not right, and putting the time, energy, and love into it. And like I said, it just spiraled from there, and now I am. I'm going. The class I'm teaching July 23rd will be my 88th barbecue class that I've taught with 3 mountain grills, and then on my own. Yeah, over the last 5 years, and being able to do that and spread barbecue love. And I'm working on other projects right now to be able to do that, and so it's a good time.
Yeah, 88 barbecue classes. That's incredible. With that sort of experience, what's something that, like one lesson you could share from that experience for people that are watching or listening that are thinking about putting on a barbecue class of their own?
Yeah, man, you got to be knowledgeable. You got to know your information, research as much as you can about proteins, about meat, about how to cook them. And then you got to be able to be relatable. I think that's really understandable is when you're talking to people and instructing, being able to be relatable and putting yourself back into those times when I was in my backyard burning meat because I had no clue. I didn't know the questions to ask. I didn't know. And so I like to be able to educate people by answering those questions that they don't even know to ask, if that makes sense. And being able to predict those questions and knowing, what you're doing. Obviously, the more you do, the better you get. It's the same with being a teacher. The same with, running a podcast. You get way more efficient. You get better the more you do. I'm the same with everything. And I think if you really want to get into it, then do it. I mean, don't be afraid. I mean, the only way to know is if you actually just get out of your seat and do it.
Beautiful, man. Very inspiring words there. I love that. Now, at what point did you know that it was time for a product for Loot'n'Booty? Like, how did you know, like, okay, we're a competition team, we're doing well, let's turn this into let's take this to the next level?
Yeah, man. It was right after I came out with t-shirts. Just kidding. Number one's rub, then number two's t-shirt. Actually, it was, I've been competing, I started in like 2006, 7, getting into it. I started competing in 2009. And then first time I qualified for the American Royal Invitational was in 2013. You have to win a Kansas City Barbecue Grand Championship to be able to qualify. And I won my first KCBS GC in 2013. So I went to the American Royal in 2014. At that time, Old World Spices, which is, my current rub manufacturer and a huge rub manufacturer, was having, I guess you call it a promotion where teams who placed really well during the Open had the opportunity to work with them to put out their own barbecue seasoning or their barbecue rub. And yeah, it was a phenomenal opportunity. And so they put this out to every team that was competing in the Open, and you can opt in if you wanted to work with them if you place in certain categories. I signed it. I said, yeah, that'd be really cool to have my own product. I ended up doing very well that year. In 2014, I took first place in chicken in the Open with a perfect 180, 7th place in ribs, and then and that was an invitational, sorry. And in the Open, I took 2nd place in pork, 19th in brisket, reserve grand champion. And nice. So my first time there, I was able to walk in all 4 meats, and overall, it was just a very amazing experience. Old World Spices, after that event, reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to be involved in our championship rub line? Through the American Royal, we have 4 meats, chicken, ribs, pork, and brisket, and we'd like to have you work with us to create a pork rub for your second place pork and your reserve grand champion at the Open. And I said, absolutely, 100%. Let's go. Let's make it happen. You find opportunities and you take them and you run with them. That was really my first opportunity with Old World Spices to create a product. And so that American Royal rub line, another kind of lucky thing and opportunistic thing is, what Old World Spices wanted to do was every year change that rub up. And that line was specifically made for like a Walmart. And Walmart said, we have all these customers who like these 4 rubs. We're not going to change them. Why change them? So we became those 4, the consistent American Royal Championship line that's still pushing out to this day at retailers across the country. They've added a couple more to that line, but the original 4 still have the line. After that line, I wanted to brand my own Loot'n'Booty BBQ line of rubs. So that pork rub is actually my Loot'n'Booty BBQ everything rub. I saw how it was selling. I said, okay, got this product out there. And it was a Loot'n'Booty rub, but it was more branded as the American Royal Championship rub line featuring Loot'n'Booty BBQ. So that gave me that foot in the door to create my own branded line. And like I said, I started with the everything rub. It went from there. Old World Spices has a championship rub program where they actually go out and sell the product for you. They distribute for you. They get it in a lot of places currently, like Ace
so
Hardware,
cool.
Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's. Absolutely. It's amazing. It's a phenomenal opportunity to have not only my own product, but a sales and distribution team to fulfill everything that I'm building my line and building my brand. So like I said, it started with the everything rub. Gold Star Chicken came after that. What's Your Beef? Jolly Roger just came out. So, that was my most recent one. And then I have one more rub that's hopefully by the end of the year we're looking at getting out. So that one's going to be exciting. I'm really excited about that one.
Must be a seafood rub. You've got one out for all the others.
No, it's not very protein specific. Let's say it's regional specific. So think of it that way, and kind of where I'm from.
Okay,
and that's enough hints.
All right.
Yeah. But so I'm working on that one with Old World Spices right now, and then I have a co-packer here in Phoenix who makes my 3 sauces for me, which I have a distributor down in Australia, Hark, who imports the whole line, and I've been doing very well with them. They've been a great partner of mine, and they've brought me down to do some events and demos and things with them as well. And like I said, they've been unbelievable partners, and to be able to go there and share my brand with you guys has just been an amazing experience.
Yeah, your gear is doing very well down here indeed. Now, you just started to mention it before, and I very rudely spoke over the top of you. I do apologize. You started to mention the pretzels.
Yes. So, yeah, that was something that Old World Spices, I remember sitting at the American Royal. This has been about probably 4 years ago. And Amy, who's our partner with Old World Spices, who runs the Championship Rub line and whose father started the company many years ago, asked me, she brought over some pretzels and she had them in these different containers. And she said, I want you to try these. And I tried several of them. And I said, these are pretty awesome. These are phenomenal. She said, you know what, we're going to try these pretzels out. And we've put all of our line of rubs on all these different pretzels, and we've tested them with everybody. And we have 4 that we landed on. And your everything rub is one of those pretzels for our brown sugar hickory line. And so to be able to have my rub on that product and have them distribute and sell that is another thing that, that they are partners in my business. It's not just me trying to, go out and push and then sell them. They're bringing my product into other opportunities and other things and other markets and other businesses, which is, like I said, in this business, that's hard to find. You don't really find a business who's going to do that. And Old World Spices is still a family-owned company, and they treat everybody like family. And at the end of the day, that's what we are.
It sounds a lot like perhaps the secret to your success has been relationships. Would that be a fair thing to say?
100%. I think a lot of them, not only with Old World Spices, but with companies like Green Mountain Grills. So, I'm not only a brand ambassador with Green Mountain Grills, I'm a manufacturer's rep. So I cover several states out west where I work with dealers and, look at getting product in and I have other people in other states that do demos and events for the company as well. And then I created the GMG Backyard Pitmaster classes. So like I said, being able to teach 88 classes across the country and internationally, having Green Mountain Grills as a partner of mine to teach on those grills and to be able to share not only that grill, but my brand has been a game changer for me. Because, I take my product off the shelf at all these barbecue stores and be able to cook with it and put it in somebody's mouth and say, this is what it's supposed to taste like. That's pretty powerful. To be able to feed somebody, your I guess passion and your love and your time and your energy it's powerful,
Very handy too. If you're like me and you forget what you need when you go into a barbecue competition, you can just run down the street 500 meters and there's a shop that's got your gear in it. You can just run in, buy some and run back out again.
Right there. It's so easy, man. Put it on the shelves everywhere.
Yeah. So with the competition side of things, the business side of things, you got your rubs, your sauces, your pretzels. Green Mountain Grill is on board. There's so many different angles that you're playing the game at. Which milestone, either competition or business, means the most to you, and why?
That's a great question, and I don't know if I really set my priorities or goals on like milestones per se, but I can tell you teaching 88 classes across the country has been a really cool thing for me to experience because I get to see people from everywhere and like I said, put different meats, different flavors, take that lamb that somebody's been staring at and say, I'm never going to cook that, and be able to cook it right and put it in there, change their whole perception of that animal. I love doing that. And to me, that's a really cool thing is the barbecue classes and be able to do that, to be able to get out on the road and go not only in my backyard, just cook, do these classes in my backyard every weekend, to be able to go to other states, to go to other countries and do it. And that has been phenomenal to me. And I'm creeping up on 100 barbecue classes taught. I think that'll be a huge milestone. I'm over 100 competitions. I've done well in other events. I think my next step in life is a milestone that's it's something that I reached recently, and it's good to come. And I think it was coming for a while, and I'm happy to have it done and be able to put out as a cookbook. So I've actually been able to. I've already written it. It's 100 recipes. It is barbecue. So this is something that I've been working out for several months, which is kind of, you probably didn't see me a lot in my social medias for the last several months, but a lot of it has been putting time on this book. It's a really tight timeline we're working on. We want to push it out before the holidays here in America, so people have time to get it out and to market it and to be able to get it out. So that to me was a really cool project that I've worked on. I never thought in a million years I'd be able to, teach classes, write a cookbook on something I'm passionate and I love. So I think that's a huge milestone. I think there's many more milestones I don't even know about that are yet to come.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. Congratulations. That is so good. Now, what sort of work goes into coming up with 100 recipes, like 100 book-worthy recipes?
Yes, exactly, and that's what it is. 100 book-worthy recipes, because there's a million recipes out there, and you throw something out there. But it's been an accumulation of 13 years of lighting fires in my backyard, trying this, figuring out what works, what doesn't work. A really cool thing about this cookbook is it's not just my recipes. I have recipes from some of my pitmaster friends that they actually share to me, and so you might see an Australian's recipe in there, a good friend of mine in the recipe. You might see a couple of my good pitmaster friends who I've done barbecue classes with, a couple of their recipes here. You might see some stuff of, things that I picked up while being in the military overseas. I'm being stationed in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii for 3 years. I have recipes from going down to Australia and my inspirations with lamb. So a lot of it has been my accumulation of 13 years of travels with the military, with eating abroad, with cooking with my friends and family, with, being on the GMG demo stage at the KC Barbecue Festival or the Denver Barbecue Festival, and a barbecue friend shares this recipe. So yeah, I'm going to put that in the book. So really it's an accumulation of my travels and And I love that I'm taking some of my friends and taking their recipes and being able to share those with, my audience and then people that I look to share the world with,
You're listening to the internationally awarded Smoking Hot Confessions podcast with massive barbecue nerd Ben Arnott.
Alrighty, Sterling, we're in the third part of our show now, and this is our lesson segment. So this is the part of the show where our guests get to teach a mini lesson to our viewers and our listeners. Now, I did forget to actually ask you what it was that you wanted to do. So did you have a particular topic? Because I did have an idea written down here. I thought maybe your competition-style drumsticks. I thought they looked pretty good. But would you like to talk about that, or would you like to talk about something else?
You know what? That's a good one. And I've actually done well with those drumsticks. The cool thing is I have, I think, 9 perfect 180s, KCBS 180s in chicken, and I picked one up in drumsticks. It was last year at the Boulder City competition, but I took first place several times, and just recently I haven't been out of the top 10 in drumsticks probably since I've been cooking them. But I switched from thighs to drumsticks recently, so here's big tips. Okay, number 1, what did I tell you earlier? Well, know where your meat's from, right? Source your meat. Get the proper meat. I use a certain specific chicken that's sold in my grocery store. It's a pre-enhanced chicken, so it already has some phosphates, carrageenan, and some salt injected to it. In KCBS competitions, you cannot add to the meat. You can only take away before it's inspected by the judges. But if it is pre-enhanced by the manufacturer, it's okay, as long as it doesn't have any flavorings like teriyaki, lemon pepper, things like that. So I like to use a pre-enhanced chicken. To me, you're ahead of the game. It's already injected. It's already going to have some flavoring. And if I'm going to do my legs, the big thing that most people ask about is I don't have enough skin. I don't have enough skin. It seems to, always peel back. So how are you going to get more skin? To me, I use a leg-thigh combo. So what I'm going to do is take that leg and thigh. I'm going to take the thigh out of it. So pretty much leave all that skin extra attached. So I have a lot of skin to work with. After that, I'm going to take all that extra skin, kind of peel back, almost where you're holding it like an ice cream cone. And on the inside of that leg, there's a membrane there. So I take a knife and I shallow cut it out. I want to make sure I get that membrane. I want to make sure a judge doesn't bite it and it's a tug. I want it to be a nice clean bite. So I just take that membrane out. And then what I'll do is with scissors, I kind of lay all the drums out there and I look at them by size. I want them to be uniform. We want to cook uniform. And I kind of judge the middle one and say, okay, this is the middle to smallest one. And then I'll take that big one and start trimming it with scissors all the way around that head until I'm just kind of working it down to the size of, they're all kind of the same. I do that with every single one. After they're relatively the same size, I take the skin and pull it back over. And then with a knife, I'll start taking that skin and taking some of the fat that's under that skin that's just around that part that's going to lay over the head, just so I can thin out that skin. Sometimes it's a lot of fat under there, and if you don't take that fat off, it's not going to lay smoothly around the head of that chicken. It's going to have lumps, and it's not going to have a clean look. So I get as much of that fat off, and I take scissors and just trim it to where the skin just kind of lays over that head. And then that's number 1. You got to pick it out and then trim it right. After you trim it right, I kind of store it until it's comp time. Once it's ready to go, I'm going to inject it. So I actually use chicken injection. I use Swanson's chicken broth. And recently I've been using Philip Breeden. He's been killing it on the barbecue circuit. He makes LC barbecue foul play chicken injection. It's great stuff. Nice little kick. I use that as my chicken injection. And I never chill my injection. I keep it warm the whole time. So I actually make it, I usually make it Friday afternoon. I put it in the shaker bottle, put it in my trailer, and just leave it until Saturday morning when I'm ready to inject. Saturday morning after, brisket and pork's been on the grill, because those start a little bit early. Then I'll inject my chicken. I pull the heads down, inject all around the head. I get as much in there as possible. It's one bite barbecue. You want that everything to boom, pop. It's got to be good, clean, but it's got to have flavor. And chicken's bland. You ever boil a piece of chicken? It tastes like nothing. And the chicken is just bland meat. It needs pop. It needs to wake up. So I load it as much as possible, pull that skin around. I'm going to take my Gold Star chicken. This is tip number. You got to use the Gold Star chicken rub. If you're not using Gold Star chicken, then good luck. Gold Star all around that thing. Put it in a pan, and I like to cook it in a pan pretty much at the beginning with a little pat of butter. Another thing we see is on those legs, there'll be a blowout where that skin's going to blow out a little bit if you cook it too long. It's not a good presentation. I like to put pats of butter all along where the handle is. Smoke it on the GMG for around 50 minutes, 55, maybe an hour. It just depends on when it's golden and nice. Throughout the cook, I'll spray it with I can't believe it's not butter, just to keep that outside nice and golden and crispy. I don't want to say crispy. I want it soft, actually. So I want it golden and soft. And so after it's been, the color's right where I want it, I'll take a little bit more butter and put it on the drumsticks, and I'll put foil over it, put it back on the smoker. And we're at about 300 degrees on the GMG. After I put the foil on, I bump it down to about 280 or so, because I don't want, if it steams in there, it can start breaking up those skins too much. So at about, once I foil it and put it back on, bump it down to about 280. What I'm going to do is open that foil after about 20, 25 minutes. And this is just reading the smoker, reading my environment, reading how the cook's been going. That's something that, a lot of people don't talk about in barbecue classes. They'll teach you recipes and this, but you got to read the cook. The cook will tell you how long to do stuff. How's your grill running? How cold is it outside? There's a lot of that factors into what elevation are you at? A lot of that goes into your cook. So you got to read the cook. So that cook will tell you if it's going to be 20, 25, 30 minutes, So after the cook tells you, open the lid, and I want to make sure none of it's blown out. And then I put a thermometer in the head of that chicken, and I want it to be close to 200 degrees, sometimes 202, 203, depending on the elevation. But if I'm close to 200 degrees, that's telling me we're good. I'll take them out, take the foil off, then I do another trimming session where I take each individually out, because they've been sitting in that pan in butter. Bottom's going to be soggy, the seasoning's going to be washed off. There's going to be nothing there. So I take each leg and kind of trim again any loose pieces that are hanging, season again with Gold Star chicken rub, and then put it on like a wire rack, every single one of them. That wire rack goes back on the grill, and it's going to be for about 10 minutes. Read the cook, but 10, 12 minutes. Just enough to where that seasoning's set back into the chicken. It's not soggy. I'm not taking soggy chicken and putting it in sauce and then putting it on the rack. I'm taking like dry, nice chicken. I'm not watering down my sauce. It's not going to be a mess. And then I'm actually re-seasoning it to get a nice bite on the underside. So once it's been set about 10, 12 minutes, take it off. Then I dunk it in sauce. Put it back on the grill. We're setting it back for 10 minutes or so, just until it tackies up. After that, man, we're throwing it in a box, crossing our fingers, and hopefully taking a walk.
Man,
that's
thank you so much for that.
Man. That's everything, man. I think I did it. Yeah, that's pretty much that's what it is.
Yeah. You were so comprehensive. I literally only wrote one question down, and that was just, when you've got all that extra skin from the thigh and you're wrapping that around, how do you pin it in place? Do you?
Yeah, I don't worry about pinning it in place. To me, if it's wrapping around, if it's too much, I'll use scissors and cut it. I want it enough to wrap around, and if it's extra, mind you, that chicken's sitting in this pan of butter this whole time. By the time you take it out, and if it's at 200 degrees, it's probably going to be blown out. The bottom of that chicken's probably going to be blown out. I want it blown out, because to me, that's going to be a nice soft bite. It's going to be a bite through chicken skin, as long as the bottom is. So that skin, it's just going to dissipate throughout the cook, and you're not even going to know it's there. Also, during that trimming process, when I put it back onto the grill to set, if there's any of that extra stuff, I trim it off then.
Ah, very cool. Very nice. All right, look, mate, that's probably a good time for us to start to wrap up this episode. So I'm going to throw the studio over to you now. Give some thanks, give some praise, give some shout outs to people that have helped you along the way, and tell everybody where they can track you down on the internet.
Sure, absolutely. Number one, I want to thank my family for everything that they've been done, and supporting me and allowing me to go out and live this awesome barbecue adventure and barbecue dream. My partners with Old World Spices, who made my product, Jason with Green Mountain Grills, has been, like family to me, and being able to grow with them and share, classes with everybody across the world. I'm also partnered with Grill Greats, and then partnered with Blues Hog as well. They help me with a lot of stuff when I've done videos with Barbecue League. So those guys are great. You can check me out at BBQ Champs Academy. I actually have an online class of all my competition meats. We have chicken, ribs, pork, and brisket, and that's through bbqchamps.com. This weekend we'll be at the Kansas City Barbecue Festival at Arrowhead Stadium with Green Mountain Grills on the demo stage. We'll also be at the Jacksonville Barbecue Festival in October with that, and then Q in the Lou with our demo stage, and that's usually around the first weekend in October is when that's happening. I got a couple competitions, and I'll be in Alamosa, Colorado, Lubbock, Texas for an event, and the American Royal, hopefully back in Tennessee for the Jack. And then a couple classes here and there scheduled. Another one in December here in my hometown at Barbecue Island in Scottsdale. So I'm excited for that one, that we're getting barbecue classes back in. So we got a lot of stuff going on, and being able to get out there and having the situation back to hopefully getting back to normal. It's an exciting time, and we're ready to go.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. Now, did you include in there where they can track you down on the internet?
Yeah, absolutely. So Instagram is at Loot'n'Booty BBQ, and Facebook Loot'n'Booty BBQ. And then my website is www.loot'n'bootybbq.com. Rubs, sauces. I got the pretzels on there. We got merch. We got T-shirts. We got all kinds of stuff. And I'm excited that portion has been growing as well. And the classes are available linked through Barbecue Champs Academy on my website as well. Beautiful,
man. So good. Well, look, thank you very much for your time. And we did just see your family return home as we were getting ready to record. They walked in and said hello. So I'm sure, and I believe he looked like a teenager. Your teenage son asked when's dinner. So I'm assuming he's just about ready to start gnawing on the table there. So I'm going to say thank you very much, and I'm going to let you go.
Thanks, Ben. I appreciate it. Thanks again for having me on. I had a great time.
And there you have it, family. That was the one and only Sterling Smith, honorary Australian, pitmaster from Loot'n'Booty. He's got his rubs, his sauces, his pretzels. He's the brand ambassador with Green Mountain Grills. So many different things that he's doing. And it's really exciting to see that things are starting to brighten up over in America, and they're able to start getting back out on the road. And we just heard him talk about some of his upcoming calendar events, and he's going to be a very busy guy over the summer. So we're very lucky to have scored this amount of time that we were able to spend with him. Now, before I wrap this up for today, just a quick reminder, huge thank you to our podcast partner, OzPig. If you are looking for the ultimate outdoor camp cooker, do check them out. It smokes, it grills, it has rotisserie attachments, warming trays. It's just a phenomenal bit of gear. Do check it out. And it all packs in a handy bag to take in your truck camping or put in your caravan and take it out on the road with you. So it's a really good bit of gear. Head on over to SmokingHotConfessions.com, grab yourself a copy of that free ebook, The Beginner's Guide to Real Barbecue. That's out there for you as well. And big thank you to all the people that have joined us in the Smoking Hot Confessions barbecue community on Facebook today for this live recording session. We've had a great amount of responses, some great questions coming through. And if you would like to come and join us and be a part of those live podcast recordings, and also just be part of a great, nice, friendly, family-friendly Facebook community, do come join us there as well. Now, of course, the last thing is the socials. So whatever platform you're watching on, do the socials thing, the likes, the shares, the comments, all that helps us out a lot, and we would really appreciate it. And now that is all the time that we do have for today. So until next time, take care of each other and keep on queuing.
Thanks for listening to the Smoking Hot Confessions podcast. Head on over to SmokingHotConfessions.com for recipes, tips, and Ben's own confessions.